back everybody, Chris Bricks here, and today we start our new build. Now before we get to that, last week we did one of the 2026 Speed Champion sets, the Ferrari SF90XX. And I have to say, if you enjoy building Speed Champions, you like adding to your collection, this one is probably top 2 best looking Speed Champions. Now, that's my opinion of course, but that is a good looking Speed Champion. There are several things that they did in this Speed Champion that you really haven't seen in them, and I like the aesthetic features inside and the rims that come on this car. Say what you will about black wheels, whether you like them or not in vehicles, the design on that looks beautiful on this car. This is a good looking Speed Champion and I highly recommend it. But you want to get my full analysis, and one of the things that failed, I put all the Speed Champions to a specific test every single time I build them. That one failed. And actually, if you go to LEGO's website, look at the side profile of it, you'll see that same failure even in the glamour shots that LEGO uses. So it wasn't made for that minifig, and you'll see why if you build it. But check out the link below in the description. You can check it out, see what I thought of it. Overall, it's a damn good looking Speed Champion, okay? Right up there with my McLaren F1 that I absolutely loved as well in that bright orange. But on to what we're doing this week. So this week, I left you, well, not this week, last week, I left you with this hint. And it's pretty straightforward what it was. You can kind of recognize it, and if you follow me on Instagram, right here, then you'll know what I'm already building. So why waste time, right? Let's bring it out. I am building something way too big for me to even fit in. That's right. We are building the LEGO Icons Concorde set. Now, I wouldn't say I'm an expert in aviation, but I love aviation. I love the feats that some of these aircraft can do, and the Concorde was one of them. And I understand the Concorde is stained with that horrible tragedy that happened with it at the end of its life, and it's a shame that it happened. It's terrible. It always is when something like that occurs. But the actual aircraft itself was an amazing feat of engineering, and I absolutely love it. I have it right up there with the SR-71 Blackbird, which fortunately I've gotten to see in real life before. Amazing. If you ever get a chance to go to, I think it was McLean, Virginia, where they have the Air Museum, check it out. It's pretty amazing to stand next to, as close as you can. Of course, it's blocked off, so you can't touch the thing. But as for the Concorde, that's one of those jets that absolutely amazing. Crazy looking, the speeds it would hit, how quickly it would get across the Atlantic. I mean, it was a pretty amazing thing. So this set has 2,083 pieces. And as you can see, it's not a small box. I'm like hugging around it like it's a small building on top of my table. And ever since this set came out, I have wanted it. And finally, about a few weeks ago, I went ahead and got it. Why? Because it was Christmas and I asked for gift cards to a certain store, and that store carried this and it was still in stock, so I got to use for gift cards and I got it for almost free. Who's going to pass that up, right? Anyways, let's get to the back of the box. And as you can see, it actually comes with this really cool stand. You know, when I saw that, I thought that was pretty awesome. It looks almost like a real wood stand with this golden plaque and everything, but it's Lego pieces. Pretty awesome. Now, this thing is pretty large in length. We're looking at 40 inches, so 3 foot 4 inches long. I have no idea where I'm going to put this thing at all. My wife is wondering the same thing, but we'll find a spot for it. I know they make really cool frames to decorate them with. A little pricey, but it would be awesome to get them on one of those frames. As you can see, there's a lot of components that go into this. Probably for the functional landing gear, if I had to guess. So that'll be awesome to build. And of course, which you can't really see because the box is so big it's cut off, but up top, this picture over here, which you can't really see. Actually, you can kind of see the white seat right there. They have a toilet in there. They put a toilet in the jet. I mean, it makes sense they have them, but they took the time to make a toilet for you, as well as seating inside the Concorde. So this is going to be awesome. I can't wait to get this together. This obviously, with being almost 2,100 pieces, it's going to be a multi-part series. I don't know how the bags are going to be broken up because I haven't broken into this box yet, but we will see. So let's open this behemoth. All right, the box is open. As you can see, it comes with a couple bags, 2, 3, 21 bags. Fortunately, none of them are really overly filled, which is nice because some sets you get like, oh, there's only one bag and there's 400 pieces in this bag. And because this is not a Technic set, it's not like, oh, the bag's partially filled, but there's 800 connectors I'm going to have to put into it. No, it's pretty reasonable per bag. So honestly, I'm not sure how many bags we're going to get through in this first episode for the build. I'll just kind of have to wing it and find out when I hit that time, usually a couple hours, 2 to 3 hours worth of filming time. We'll calculate into one episode without running it crazy long, and most of you skip through it anyways. You get to either the ending, what I thought, final part of the build. I don't know. People skim through different parts, but I don't want to make it overly long, at least on YouTube. Now, when you get this set and you open the box, interestingly enough, you have random numbered bags. Like I had a 4, a 10, 21 that came out of the initial box. I'm like, okay. Then you'll find this white box inside of a box. I know, every time I see this, what's in the box? I know, that reference, pretty old for a movie anyways. But this box contained more bags. I don't know why they separated them. Not really sure, honestly. It also came with the instruction booklet in here. So, I don't know, maybe to keep from everything jostling around too much. Not sure, but you'll see this box in there. And all it has is more of the bags in random order and the instruction booklet. You'll also have one of these wrapped up. I'll have to open it to see what's actually in here. It feels like possibly the canopy for the plane, but we will see on that. And your instruction booklet will actually be wrapped up in this nice Lego Christmas paper. And it looks nice, It looks like an instruction booklet. Lets you know because the decoration is instruction booklets. So, now for this part. You have the manual. You're looking at about 290 pages of build, which isn't too bad. This is 2,100 piece set, so you kind of expect it. It is kind of thick, not too bad. One thing I will notice are the pages are crazy thin on this. Almost like tissue paper. They're really thin for some reason. And I don't know if that's just to save a couple bucks, maybe a way to make the set slightly cheaper. I know this isn't a cheap set, but to make it cheaper, I guess. But be careful turning the pages. I could already see as I'm whipping through these, I'm going to tear some of these pages as I'm going through it. They do give you some glamour shots at the beginning, which I always appreciate when they include those nice shots of it. And from this point, try not to tear the pages, but you get an actual picture of the jet itself. You have it in the different languages, which, of course, France. But, they have it in French, they have it in English, and of course, they have it in Spanish as well. Sorry, slowly translating the additional words on there to make sure I'm grabbing the right languages here. But you get a nice picture there. And they also give you some little, stats. Not too bad. Yeah. And then you get to see the team that put it together. I will say though, after this page, it jumps right into the build. I wish there would have been a few more really stylized shots, because this plane was pretty amazing. And I understand a lot of photos are going to be old because this is a very old aircraft, hasn't flown in many decades now at this point. But it would have been cool to get some really good shots of it, maybe even the interior, maybe make the pages a little thicker to give it that kind of icons booklet. When you get an icon set, it's an icon, you want it to be an icon. So I wish they did a little better job on this booklet, especially coming from the Stinger RS, which was a brand I never worked with before, Nifilas, however you say it. and their booklet was pretty amazing. I understand their sets are really hit and miss in quality, but the booklet, they paid a designer to put that together because it looked beautiful. This, it looks good. I appreciate what it does have. I just want a little bit more. Even when we get into the middle of the build, you know, sometimes sets will have like random pictures throughout, especially with like the DeLorean set, which is covered up because there's too many bags on the table. You know, a little more effort on this would make it perfect. It'd be one of those booklets I would actually keep, because the really nice booklets I actually do keep. I don't keep boxes except for to use as temporary shelves in my closet for my display, but the booklets, if they're nice enough, I hold on to these. I don't get rid of them for the nice ones. This one, I may, because it has some stats about the plane on it, and I like the plane. But now that I'm done rambling, you know, we'll get on here. I don't know how many bags we'll get through, but we'll see at the end of this video, and you'll find out then, because I can't predict the future. So, let's build. Bag one is done. You're looking at just about 8 minutes on this build. And so far, I've built a Lego wall. Not sure where this is going. I have no idea. This is the other side of it. I don't know. Kind of looks like wings, maybe a glider. I don't know. But we built a wall. You have 3 singular leftover pieces. So if you don't see 3 little 1x1s or round little pieces, check the bag, check the box, check the floor, because that's all you get in bag 1. Now, move on to bag 2. Bag 2 is done. You're looking at about 11 minutes, 13 seconds, and as you can see, our wall has gotten bigger. We also added some gearing. We have like a little corkscrew gear here. We flip it over, and you can see the other side. We got some more gearing. And we also added these little features here. Not sure, maybe it's underneath the wing, who knows? Because we have 21 bags to build, so who knows where this is gonna go exactly. I'm guessing by the width, it'd be somewhere on the wing. Overall, you got 3 pieces left over. That's it to bag 2. So far, 3 is a common theme with leftover pieces for bags 1 and 2. And a neat thing about the instructions is it gives you a little bit of like nuggets of information about the plane. I think there was one in here that talked about 19 miles worth of area on the wings, which is kind of insane. And I kind of appreciate having that little bit of information while you're building the thing that they're talking about. It's kind of cool. So I do appreciate that. Of course, a common theme, because this was an international type of plane. We got in 3 different languages, so it's not just in English with this information. Pretty cool. Also, none of the steps are really too difficult so far. Pretty straightforward. Even this, you had to build each side. Basically, you had to duplicate your steps, the 2 times symbol when you had to build it. I just recommend you do all the steps twice right up front. So when you get to the end of that series of steps, you have both pieces already built. It saves you a little bit of time. Yep, I know. The table still squeaks. I guess it always will squeak as long as it's on this channel. But let's move on to bag 3. Bag 3 is done. You're looking at about 12 minutes, 46 seconds. And as you can see, we got a lot of our gearing covered up. That's what this bag was mostly dedicated to. You added a little bit more to the wing. As you can see, we got more of the gearing, just hidden pretty much. We added a little bit more to the front of it. And as you can see, we also built these nice orange pieces, which look pretty good, kind of pumpkin-y. But I'm pretty sure that's where engines are possibly going to attach. I don't know, I haven't looked ahead. But overall, pretty straightforward for a bag and not too difficult. So, one thing before I go on to Let's Build, you get only one piece left in this. So if you don't have this little gray round piece, it's somewhere else, just so you know. And a piece you put on earlier, you will take off this. This is just like a holder piece that you built from the previous bag. You'll take it off in this one and probably discard it or use it for whatever you want. So if you want to count this as extra pieces, it would be 4 of this bag. So anyways, let's move on to bag 4. bag 4 is done. You're looking at about 12 minutes, 8 seconds, pretty straightforward bag. It does get a little more complicated creating these pieces here. As you can see, there's going to be some functionality with how that movement takes place. Probably the landing gear if I had to guess. And we built more of the wing, as you can see. But the bag was pretty much dedicated to building these portions of the wing, this portion of the wing, and as well as what will be possibly the landing gear. But so far, pretty straightforward. This was a little complicated, but nothing too crazy. And pretty quick bag. So let's move on to bag 5. Bag 5 is done. You're looking at about 13 minutes, 51 seconds. As you can see, our wing's getting pretty decent sized here. Now this bag focused on pretty much the top portion here and a little bit of the sides here, and nothing too complex with that. Just more of building the wing. A ton of white pieces, which on a white tabletop makes it a little difficult to find, but you know, so far so good. I will say though, with all of the white pieces, especially with my light being more of like a, ultra white kind of color, temperature, you really notice that not all the white pieces are created equal. Some of the white pieces are a beautiful bright white. Other pieces actually have like a yellowish tinge to it. And I see this on my really old Legos from when I was a kid. When I look back, I'm like, oh, they just got discolored and stuff. But this is fresh out of the bag. And it probably will not show up on the camera at all. Or it might. You can see like right that one. Now that one's almost like a shadow over it or a little bit darker. And the one below it is like this pure white. And I noticed that a lot of pieces are like that, which is kind of unfortunate because this thing is a massive wing plane. And when you're showing it off, it's not like you want to be like, oh, why is it all kind of discolored? Was it sitting in the sun? No, I just built it yesterday. So there is some discoloration between the pieces. I wish that was not the case, but unfortunately it is. So just a heads up, if you are building this set, expect it not to be perfectly white across the board. I mean, maybe in softer lights, more yellow lights, people aren't going to notice. And honestly, most people won't notice. But when you build Legos and you look at those little details, this is the kind of thing you're going to notice. But I know this table is crazy tonight. But other than that, it's been great. Pretty straightforward. And just a ton of pieces. A ton of little pieces. The bags don't look like much, but there's a lot of little tiny pieces in it. But nothing too crazy. So let's move on to bag 6. bag 6 is done. Pretty much everything up here was bag 6. If you flip it around, you kind of see we covered up some of the, inner workings that were sitting there, but you're pretty much getting your shape of your wing. And I'm finding the most difficult thing about this set so far is how to keep it in frame with the camera and everything, because I got the overhead build. This thing's getting big, and we already know it's going to be a little over 3 feet, so I may have to set up a little different camera angle once we start putting this thing together, but it's getting big. And I actually like how these hold up the wing, because especially when you want to tighten this down, when you try tightening it this way, it likes to kind of warp and bend. So having this here and being able to just kind of push down and make sure everything's nice and tight on there, because there's so many little pieces that are in this wing, it's easy for it to flex and get out of shape. Unfortunately for bag 7, I see we lose these, so I'm hoping we get some other kind of support mechanism, but I don't know. Overall, pretty straightforward. Note, bag 6 has 0 leftover pieces. So if you are missing pieces in bag 6, check the bag, check the box, check the floor, or call LEGO, because I had 0 leftover pieces. I don't think I left any in the bag. So just a heads up on that. Let's get on to bag 7. Bag 7 is complete. You're looking at just under 9 minutes. Pretty quick bag, not too many pieces, but we finally got some of the cabin put on to the plane. As you can see, we've got some windows, backside where there's no windows. It kind of covers up all the functionality that's going on under here. And there is some functionality now. Now we know what everything does. Well, at least what we built so far. As you can see underneath, pretty clean. And if you turn this little part here, we get, we get the landing gear. There we go. So we got some functionality here. Can't wait to get the rest of it together, but at least it's together so far. As you can see, it's getting taller and taller. It's gonna be fun to build this thing all out, especially when we get by the time we get to bag like 17, 18, 19, this thing's gonna be massive. It's gonna be a beast. But we built some functionality, which is awesome. I can't wait to get the rest of it put together. Yeah, there we go. And it's looking pretty good. One thing I will say is, you see right here, this piece is a little different than the others. This is a printed on piece. Thank you, LEGO. I did not want to have to put on a single little red line that could possibly look out of place or crooked compared to the rest, which we use pieces to create that red line. Absolutely love that. And honestly, now that I think about it, I didn't even comment on this on the open box. There's no stickers for this one. How about that? All this printed on. Man, I didn't even realize that. I was so blinded by how many bags and everything there were in this set. I didn't even mention there are no stickers in this set. Hallelujah. All right, time for bag 8. bag 8 is done. You're looking at just over 14 minutes for this bag, and I know between these bags sometimes it's hard to tell what exactly did you build, because all you are doing is building this wing from the fat side to where it skinnies up. As you can see, it's getting taller, and it's really hard to tell, like I said, but you can see right here in this portion, that's where bag 8 is. And you'll be able to see it on the back side as well, right about here, all the way down to this piece out. That's what you're going to accomplish in 14 minutes. Now, nothing too crazy. Make sure you did not discard these. These seem to be holders for when they want you to stack something. It sits here, it attaches, well, I'm not trying to attach it, but it sits here so that way it's more of a stand. So that way when you need to press down on it to get it to secure in, you can. And these are also little supports, so when you're laying it flat, you can just push down on it and you're not snapping the whole thing in half, because this is fairly fragile. I accidentally warped it because I was pushing down on a piece, and it warped it down because these are just single pieces, you know? This is a thin piece, this is a lot of Lego pieces, and as you know, they can flex quite a bit, and this is no exception. So honestly, while I've never been the one to really use, the Kraggle to put Lego sets together, I could see if you wanted to keep this piece always like this and never mod it or take it apart and rebuild it, this is the set I would use it on. Because while you have a lot of connectors, you have a lot of things, doubling up on the support and everything, it's very easy to flex this wing, to accidentally bust a piece off of it, because I've done that a few times already. So I could see the justification for Kraggle on this one. So if you're on the fence on whether or not to use it, and if you don't plan on taking it apart, you might as well use it. It's good. We won't look at you in shame or anything. But we're now on to bag 9. We're almost halfway through this set already. All the bags so far have been pretty quick. I think the bag 8 at 14 minutes was the longest one so far. A lot of them around 10 minutes or a little bit less. Not too bad. You get 2 little pieces left. So one thing this set is not generous on is spare pieces, because there was even a bag with no spare leftovers at all, even the tiny pieces. So be mindful of where you're pouring your pieces. Check the floor, check the box, check the bag, because there's not a lot of extras in this set. Anyways, let's move on to bag 9. Bag 9 is done. 12 minutes, 46 seconds, and this is the piece you're going to build. More towards the front of the jet. As you can see, we got the support ramps on the bottom, so why I mentioned in the last little clip why I can understand if you want to use super glue for this. That happens frequently with the little pieces on the end before they actually get all snapped in. But that way you could place it here, you could push down, doesn't break it, doesn't warp the wing, and you're good. We add a little bit of functionality through here, which is going to travel through the entire plane from front to back. You have this continuous line of, you can see in the front here, but it continues all the way to the back. So I'm curious how far that will go, but straightforward bag, pretty easy. As long as you pay attention, on one step I had to undo these because I put them on this side. I didn't pay attention to the rotate symbol, but other than that, pretty straightforward. So we're almost halfway there. Let's get on to bag 10. Bag 10 is done. 16 minutes 45 seconds, so this is the longest bag so far. And as you can see, built a decent amount. We had our little bit of, this is where we ended bag 9, and you can see everything above here is bag 10. There's a lot of functionality that went into bag 10 here. As you can see, if I turn this, you can see it going back and forth. Although for bag 11, it wants you to hold it here, so I'm going to leave it here. But we did all that gearing that sits inside of here, as well as all the little sleek under pieces of the, that's going to be part of the jet's hull at least. And you can see this is going to be the front, towards the front of the jet, because our wing comes to an end over here. And yeah, I know I'm looking over here because I'm looking at it in the video, but you get a decent amount of pieces. This is the bag has the most pieces. You have 5 leftover pieces right here, including one that's a little 2-piece connector. So that's the biggest piece so far you've gotten extra. So, and you also get one spare little light, which is kind of nice, but kind of a theme with all these bags, you don't get much left over. So keep track of your pieces. Now for this episode, we're going to do bag 11, and that's where we're going to end it, a little bit more than halfway. That way we have a little more time for next week's video to analyze all the thoughts. How do I feel about this and everything? Pros, cons, you know it, you name it. So let's get on to bag 11. Bag 11 is done. You're looking just under 6 minutes. So it is a really quick bag. And the main function of that bag is to connect the head to the body. Well, almost the head. Upper middle section of the plane to the rest of the rear of the plane. And as you can see, it's looking good. Now in this video, looking at it, it doesn't do it justice just how big this is. This is definitely more than halfway as long as this table. This is actually quite a big set. 3 foot 4 inch set. It's gonna be a long set, but it's awesome to see that full wing completely built out. I'm actually glad we're ending this on bag 11 because this is all together as one piece. As you can see underneath, we have the supporting orange pieces, so that way when you're building it, you can push down, see, nothing breaks. Now the wing does flex, do not push down on that. Don't even breathe on some of these pieces because they fall right off. Just so you know, just so you're aware, like I said, you don't need to be ashamed if you put super glue on it. I won't judge you, not on this set. But this really makes you want to put the rest of it together. Now we still have the tail section to go. That's going to come out to here. We have the front end here with its 12-degree angle on the nose. And of course, we got to finish out the landing gear. And as I mentioned before, this set has 0 stickers. So all the coloration, all the lines are used through bricks, like right here. No stickers. They just use Lego pieces. Love it, Lego. And even the windows on here, pre-printed on, even better. I remember the really old sets where you had to put those window stickers on and it would be just all cloudy because you'd be touching it with your finger 85 times to get it aligned and then it kind of bubble up and you kind of try to flatten it down. It is miserable. Printing, good. So, where are we at the end of this episode? We're at 2 hours and 4 minutes of build time so far. And we're a little more than halfway. So probably a solid 3.5 hour build is what I would guess. We'll see when we get to next week's episode. But overall, this set, while it has a lot of pieces, it's definitely not that bad of a build. It's pretty straightforward. Some of the steps, you're literally connecting just 2 pieces and then you're on the next step. So really, not bad at all. Definitely recommend it if you're into any kind of aviation Lego sets. This one is amazing and definitely worth getting before they end up retiring it and then you got to pay extremely overpriced for possibly fake ones online. I'm talking to you, GT3 RS that I never got when it was on sale. But, this thing's looking awesome. I'm just totally excited about it. Make sure you hold on to these because you never know when they're going to come back and when you may have to support the plane on it. So always hold on to these orange pieces. And as such, bag 11 has 1 leftover piece. And we're more than halfway through, and here is our leftover pieces. Not many at all. Considering if we're more than halfway, probably over 1,000 pieces. This is your leftover. Check the bag, check the box, check the floor, if this is not what you're seeing, And I cannot wait to get this thing finished and show you all the final product, the pros and cons. In this video, the big con that I've had with this is the fact that all the whites aren't created equal. Some whites are brighter than others. Some have almost this yellow, dull look to it, which kind of makes it look ugly. I wish they were all that bright white to just, seal this plane up, make it look beautiful. And I don't even know if you can kind of see any of them. Well, you kind of can. You see this big piece here? That's not lighting playing trick. You can see above it, it's pretty white, and then this one kind of has a shadow to it. That's not the lighting doing that. I got really bright white light going on over my head right now. That's the actual color difference between the two. And quite a few pieces have that, which is unfortunate. Also, in my instruction booklet anyways, the yellow pieces, they're kind of a tannish, weird yellow color. They print out as yellow. So if you're looking for a yellow piece, you can't find it. It may be, you can kind of see one right here, this little tan. It might be that piece. So check that out, just so you know. Mine were printed in yellow, and they certainly are not yellow. And that's going to end it for this episode, or, this part, whatever you want to call it. So I appreciate everyone for tuning in. We're almost to 40 subscribers. That's absolutely amazing. For me, small channel, I do this part-time in between work, hanging out with the family, baseball, all that stuff. And I love building Legos. I'm going to do this regardless of how many subscribers are on this channel. It's just something I enjoy doing. And this gives me a way to kind of commit to build those sets. You know, I have a closet full of sets that just sit there. And without this channel, honestly, they may sit there longer because I'll be like, I'll get to it. And then I'll buy some more and then I'll be like, I'll get to it. This forces me to be on a schedule, build my sets, get them together and get them out and display them in my little makeshift display in my closet, you know? So I really appreciate every one of you that tune in, even if it's only a couple minutes because you want to scroll to the end to see what I built. Hey. And also, I hope you enjoy the music. I try to pick some relaxing, lo-fi kind of music that you could just, even if you're not paying attention to what I'm doing, at least you can enjoy some beats while you're playing the video. And of course, Instagram, right there-ish. We're over 500 subscribers. For some reason, the last week, it's really exploded with like 20 some more subscribers, and my views jumped from like 1,500 over 3,000. I don't know why. Maybe I commented on a couple high profile creators and people checked it out. Don't know, but I appreciate it. I really do. And you already know what's going to be built next week. Obviously, we're going to finish the Concorde. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be awesome. And I hope you can tune in. So when this comes out, I know there's a snowstorm going over part of the United States. I hope everyone's staying safe, keeping warm, stay off the streets. It gets rough out there. I don't have to worry about it. I'm in Florida, so we may see 50 degrees. I mean, it's 82 today, so it doesn't feel anywhere near like winter right now. But I hope you have a good one, and I'll catch you next week.